Back in that time, I sort of saw that partnerships were a thing as a force multiplier to be able to grow business and grow accounts and create stickiness to go with it. Started off around 100, 150 partners when I started to about 1,200 when I left over 5 years. We saw a lot of what good looks like, what great partnership, but also where they weren't driving material impact. And so that's what I've been out helping solve, working with scale-up companies right across the region for the last 3 years, working them figure out, how to enable partnerships to drive growth. And we're pretty bullish on partnerships as a growth driver if it's done properly.
Hey there, you're tuned in to Beyond Handshakes with Nick
and Nish.
We talk to partnership legends from across Australia about what it really takes to build meaningful, lasting collaborations. And more importantly, we delve into where partnerships are headed next.
Each episode, we dive into partner playbooks, revenue share models, and go-to-market strategies with leading experts who built ecosystems that actually scale. Whether you're looking to grow through alliances, co-marketing, or joint ventures, this is where we break it all down.
Yeah, no worries. And thanks, Nick and Nish. Good to be here and talk all things partnerships. So in terms of my background, rewind back to 2013, I was the first hire at Bend Point of Sale in Australia. I started off in the sales role and then a senior account manager and starting to, just catch up and see how we could help better support our customers right across the region. For those who don't know, Bend Point of Sale, which has been acquired by Lightspeed a few years ago, is a cloud-based point of sale system which allows retailers to connect in real time with all their data and grow their businesses and stores through having all that information at their fingertips, right? And through the role of senior account manager, I saw that those who were connected with technology partnerships, such as, Deputy for time and attendance, reporting apps, accounting such as Xero, we saw those, no surprisingly, they ran better stores. They didn't churn, so better unit economics, and they were bigger accounts because they're growing businesses. So back in that time, I sort of saw that partnerships were a thing as a force multiplier to be able to grow business and grow accounts and create stickiness to go with it. And fast forward a few years, I got the opportunity to lead Xero's ecosystem across the region, across Australia and New Zealand. And what that meant was, how can we drive more partners to the Xero platform? And once again, that means that a small business, a butcher, a baker, a candlestick maker, they run a more operational business. They're sticky. It also meant Xero didn't have to build all sorts of solutions and go through that hyperphase growth period of, started off around 100, 150 partners when I started to about 1,200 when I left over 5 years. We saw a lot of what good looks like, what great partnership, but also where they weren't driving material impact. And so that's what I've been out helping solve, working with scale-up companies right across the region for the last 3 years, working them figure out, how to enable partnerships to drive growth. And we're pretty bullish on partnerships as a growth driver if it's done properly.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks, Brian. It's that wrap. You're preachingly converted here. Nish and I are obviously massive believers in the concept ourselves, hence this podcast. Well, speaking for myself, at least I'm all focused on the referral partner network. But you're building up a lot of my colleagues at US payments company for the last few years. So I'm particularly interested today hearing about partnerships in your SaaS or technology context. Nish, maybe in the audience a little bit of a taste of your types of partners that your partnership investors in your QA part.
Yeah, so our predominant strategy at the moment is actually similar to Xero's. We're focusing a lot of our time in building out our channel partner ecosystem. So focusing a lot about, educating, enabling bookkeepers and accountants, particularly. I think they're the perfect kind of advocates for, we're essentially a payments and rewards platform, and they're basically driving a lot of those payments for their customers. But on that point, we haven't really defined building out our own kind of ecosystem. And Brian, since you're a guru in that, would love to kind of hear from you, I guess, exactly how you define an ecosystem and what's the difference between that and some other partnership streams.
Yeah, sure. So let's start off with, your ecosystem is all your surrounding network, which has contact in some touch point with your customers, your pipeline of customers and maybe customers you've lost too. So what sort of a touch points? If you look at the jobs to be done for your ideal customers, the surrounding network of, it could be all sorts of things, whether it's technology partners, advocates, evangelists, those who influence, all the touch points to help the customer solve more problems, right? So when we look at it, we always start with a very wide look and say, what partner categories make up your ecosystem? So in some instances, it's marketing and thought leaders, it's referral partners, like you mentioned, Nick. Interestingly, we recently did the state of APAC partnerships, and one of the findings was most of the tech companies across the region are focusing on referral partnerships as a growth driver. And I know the State of Partnership Leaders report last year indicated that about 80% of those working in partnerships are trying to drive partner-sourced leads back into the business, which isn't often in the case of referrals. So what you're working on is probably the most common role of partner managers out there. Nish, building beyond that, look at things like marketing and thought leaders, like what does that look like as a category? Sometimes there's resellers, sometimes you can white label, sometimes there's product partnerships as well to solve a gap, which you're not going to build to. So when we look at the ecosystem, we look really wide and broad. We sort of just paint the picture of like, these are all the providers. And then when we're having conversations with either founders or the C-suite where we work out what does it make sense for us based on our stage of partnership maturity, which categories are we going to go deep on, right? And where are we going to rather than go broad and weak, which is too common we see, like where do you actually, spend your time, energy and effort and put in your resources and time to be able to do that.
See, Steve, Brian, that the terminology used there, broad and weak, often partnership potion for partnership managers get criticised for that very V. So I guess you've seen it firsthand in past experience, and is that kind of one of the things that triggered you to go out and set up this advisory?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. During that tenure I spoke about before, Nick, I see companies, just do a lot of flash in the pan stuff, or like, can you do an EDM out tomorrow to everyone in hair and beauty or to farming, or let's run one webinar together. And, for partnerships to deliver, you're idealistically, you're looking for a line of sight to the ROI. Like, how do you build sustainable, predictable, partner-led pipeline through whatever channels that is or partner categories to go with it? And I saw too often, the partnership approach was quite nascent. It was very immature, or upcoming companies where CEO founders are, they might know people at previous companies. They see they have the hopes and dreams that some AWS or Salesforce, someone's just going to push their stuff amongst a sea of choices. And, where do you go to learn partnerships? And so I'm using a lot of my IP and experience to sort of bring that to life for upcoming companies.
Yeah, and to your point, Brian, I think it's very easy to onboard a partner. I think partnerships as a whole, there's a partnership in everything, but it's really, I guess, another thing to actually keep the partner enabled and I guess set a partnership up for success. Based on your past experience, I guess, what are those key steps, to do at the outright beginning to enable that success and set people up for success, I guess?
Yeah. Thanks, Nish. So we work through a 5-step framework that we deploy working with companies. And the first one's around align. And what that really means is firstly, what does it mean internally? Start there. But make sure your leadership, everyone understands the role of partnerships and have buy-in, and make sure you're educating your leadership around where you're spending your time, energy, and effort based on the resourcing you have. So it's a big part of managing up and getting everyone on the same page. From there, once you've prioritized who you want to work with, it's about setting up some discovery calls with prioritized partner categories. And so what that looks like is, just because you want to work with someone, as you both know, doesn't mean they have any interest working with you at all. So once we've gone through the mechanism, sort of saying, in your instance, Nick, like, we want to work with referral partners. Well, who? And then spending time with these targeted, prioritized partners. And companies often talk about ideal customer profile, but not enough around ideal partner profile, which is a different thing, right? And And so then going through this learning phase where we sort of jump into the second part of our framework, we go through validate. And what that means is, Nick, if you spend time with your top 2 or 3 referral partners and understand what they care about, and this phase here is all about really ensuring that whatever we bring to the table, that they care enough about it that they're going to do it ongoing and starting to build that capability with them to be able to produce results back in return. Because otherwise, to your point, Nish, you can spend a lot of time signing agreements and getting the business excited. And then sooner or later, the company's going to ask, where's the results? I mean, this is where we see people get fired or they leave frustrated if they don't get resources because they haven't communicated back up the line to do it. And the common example we use is if you look at any sales motion in a business, you might have SDRs, BDRs, you might have account execs and then account managers, and yet partnerships just thrown over to the side and like just go make it deliver, which doesn't work, right?
This is shares that we have very much. Use it that's it. We buy tax. That's no, you yeah. Yep, hold up.
Yeah, copy. Yeah, look. See? Massive. It's really everything, especially as you're sort of getting going, ramping up partnerships. It's like our framework, if we work out where we want to play and then we work out the companies within, then it's the people within which move the needle. And what I mean by that is if you're getting going into partnerships early on, it's going to take a while for it to ramp up to produce material results. So it's the people on the other side. So it'll be a case of, Nish, what is your KPI this quarter, this month? Are you ahead or behind? What are you looking to do? How can we do some short-term initiatives to help you win? Because what people never do, Nick, to answer your question is, they never flip the switch. Like, if you're working with a referral partner, like, well, what are you offering that person back in return? Are you helping someone like Nish hit his target for what he's trying to do? Or are you just looking to extract because it's the nature of it? It's so common. So this is where that validate phase, you've really got to build that mutual success plan for each other and make sure there's value ongoing. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to get that buy-in ongoing. You might do one activity together, and this is where it falls over.
And to that point, Bryan, you raised a very interesting point. It takes a lot of time to actually get a partnership up and running. Do you think there's benefit in actually maybe doing some A/B testing to see if it works, trialing out the partnership within certain departments?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, it's part of the validate phase of what it is. We look at it across 3 different aspects. First one, what is their capacity? Like, oh, Nick, I want to do some stuff for you. This would be great. And you're like, oh, I don't have time. Oh, I'd love to. And then Nish, you just keep hammering with emails and phone calls and he's too busy.
Yeah.
The second one is around commitment. Like, are they committed to this? Or are they like, oh, go away. Like your partner, 1 of 100, go away. And then the third one is around capability. So, are they any good? Do they need training and resource? Will they even read it and look at it? What do they need to be successful around it? So what we do is companies we're working with, we look at the partners they want to go after and we build a matrix around which ones we should spend time with. And from there, that's where we focus our energy and efforts to be able to get them moving.
Nice. I was gonna VCN Big Five is so it come from the background at the SaaS tech show. Companies that you're associated I will see on space.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, so we work broadly across B2B tech companies, Nick, to answer your question. So most of them are SaaS or in payments. And sometimes, we look at their stage of partnership maturity or, how far up the journey they are and then start and build from there. Common leading question was like, what percentage of revenue is partnerships delivering today? What do you want it to be? And then building from there. And we know the benchmark in market sitting around 30% is kind of like the middle of the bell curve. But some companies are getting started and some are at 10% and some might be at 40% and they're trying to get to 45%, which are further upstream.
And what about on the SaaS space? Do you instead of taking on recurring engagement companies outside of them, it's on that space?
I know at this stage we stay pretty laser focused. I'm a big believer in what you're known for and how you're building your brand for it. So in and around B2B tech is where we sort of say we play, Nick. In terms of what we'd be looking for is, best fit is they have emerging product market fit or product market fit. The leadership believes in partnerships, that it's something you need to invest in and build over time, and it's not to fill a short-term revenue gap, right? And that if they're growth minded and they're willing to spend the time, energy, and effort to get partnerships right on top of their existing customer base and go-to-market motions. Partnerships should be an overlay right across the business and definitely not just something stuck in a corner.
I remember when I first started at Pay, completely new to partnerships. It was very tricky going out to companies and, convincing them of why they should partner with us. I think, there's a lack of credibility, trust element for it as well. What tips and tricks would you give, I guess, partner managers starting out in a new role, looking to kind of spread their wings and create their own partner program, and approaching these large organizations that have to kind of really see some traction?
Yeah, great question, Nish. So firstly, I think if you're approaching any large organizations, they're going to have partner programs in place, which are table stakes to just actually talk to them. So you got to assess where should you spend time, energy, and effort. I'd encourage new partner managers to try and look towards companies who are of similar size to them, of similar appetite, because they're going to be more nimble to move. And what I mean by that, even if you had 100 or 1,000 customers, if there's another company of 100 or 1,000, they're going to be interested to do various activities together and build a mutual success plan to move forward together. And if they've got 1,000 customers and you get 200 of them, you've made a material impact. Or you can go spend a significant amount of time with the big enterprise platforms with huge ecosystems where you're one of thousands amongst there. And are you going to really get cut through?
Are you going to get the love? Probably not.
No. So it's sometimes a case of say if you're in the Atlassian ecosystem, who else is in the Atlassian ecosystem? You likely got similar customers in the same ecosystem. So go spend some time, energy, and effort with them once you've prioritized them. I mean, the reality is, people talk about strategic partners who are often big meeting partners with material, but if you're getting started as a partner manager, I would say your first 2 or 3 partners are absolutely strategic. And because this is where partner programs evolve and emerge from.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And to that point, I guess Pay.com.au, we were predominantly focused on domestic payments. So I thought there was a big gap in the market. Not too many FX companies out there were actually offering a reward solution or enabling customers to earn points on FX spend. So I reached out to a few bigger players. Nick was one of them as well. But it opened us a complete new revenue stream and market for us. And now that that spend out to FX partners has grown quite significantly, it's become another kind of extension of our business. So I think back to that point, it's about understanding, I guess, what gaps there are in your business and where, certain partners can come in and complement.
Yeah, the foundations of partnerships are really stem from a high level of build by partner, right? So is there a gap which outside of your roadmap or, outside of your geography, which other partners can bring into that and start to build a narrative around that? Because if customers are asking for it or seeking it and you don't provide it, and it's quite an organic fit right alongside what you do. And, it really is like a burger and chips kind of analogy. It's not too far away. It's quite close to the core. So I'm not surprised the FX channel is been great for you, Nish, as something to build alongside.
Yeah. And I guess to that point, how important is, customer feedback in leading a lot of that partner outreach and overall kind of product rollout?
Yeah. I mean, it's critical. Like all partnerships should really be customer driven, that you're solving more problems for customers. Like engagements we do that we kick off with, just as we're in the discovery phase of a line, we go and do a survey to existing customers or customer side, and also do a survey to partners. So we get to both of those lenses. We know what they're asking for, and on the customer side, we ask them, what else are they using before or after using our application or products or services, and see if it's crossover. Because picture, a conversation where, say, you want to go approach a partner and say, well, did you know that 40% of our customer base use your application today? Or this just makes it so aligned, right? And then you're being customer driven around what's been demanded, or you're adding a feature set which you don't have to build yourself. So I'm a really big believer, like, there's a lot of talk about partnerships as more, art or science. I think there's a lot of science which people can be using and being data driven, if they're smart around it, to inform business cases, to get internal support and more resourcing to show the impact, and then use the art of relationship building and developing trust and mutual wins to bring it to life, is probably something which is not harnessed enough. Yeah, right. Like, it's critical that they understand what partnerships means to the business, and you've got to overly communicate that and manage up continually and really push hard. You should be really spending a lot of time, especially early on, making sure the leadership team knows what it is and what it isn't as well, right? And when we're talking to CROs and CFOs, we're talking a lot around what is the ROI, and we've got a few sessions this time of year as we kick into the new financial year around that. And there's two ways to look at it, Nick. It's like, what's the bottom-up plan? If you've got a number, which partner categories and which partners are going to contribute towards that, and they know that? Or is it a top-down plan from them to sort of say, well, just go find $1 million, $10 million of revenue and go get it. And then it's up to you to go build the underlying model to do it. So, with that communication and buy-in, then you're going to go a long way to get more resourcing if you can share the ROI to go with it. I mean, you picture a sales leader not knowing their numbers or just shrugging their shoulders to do it, or a marketing leader not showing the MQLs or the impact that they can make and attribution to go with it. Just, we're just out being busy, or just having coffee meetings and beer catch-ups and going to events and announcing fake partnerships. It's like, it doesn't stack up. It's got to be commercially driven. Yes, I think like partner programs are always building, never built, in my experience a few times doing that. So, the whole idea of partner program is to sort of set up for scale. So if you're talking to 3, 5, 10, 20 partners, what do they get? What do they not get? And you can resource back against that. There's always gaps. There's always room to be improved, borrowed. And as companies get more mature in this, you look at the likes of Shopify and HubSpot, they suffer a lot from channel bloat, where they've got too many partners and they can't give enough leads, and they all sort of fight and drive the price back down. So as partner maturity evolves, the complexities do too. One thing at Xero I wasn't really anticipating, we were a few years in, we had so many partners, we had to spend a lot of time on governance, like for what people were building integrations towards and what they're actually doing. And if you went through a phase of actually having to audit, and we'd see some funny use cases of the API, and we'd have to go and check and spend a lot of time on that side of the business. And we had to end up set up a governance team in New Zealand along the way. And I know HubSpot went through the same thing, where there's the strict uses of the API of how you partner. But when you've got so many partners, all these daft things start happening. And it's one of the rules of the platform is that the bigger it gets, the more you kind of got to let go, but still make sure there's fair value exchange on both sides. But that was something as we sort of going through the scale up that we sort of learned along the way.
I'd love to know, obviously, when you ventured out 3 years ago and built Hockey Stick Advisory, were you able to, I guess, leverage partnerships in a way to kind of build your leads and your customer base?
Yeah. By name and nature, Nish, something we sort of really pride ourselves on. All right. So, yeah, I know, right? Yeah. So what that looks like is, we partner with a lot of venture capitalists because they've got distribution down in their portfolio. And what that means is, there's a few in particular we get along well with, and we have like a catch up every 6 weeks or 12 weeks. Because equally we're working with a lot of upcoming companies. We might be able to spot some opportunities for them. So we do that. As a result, we often present at their annual day across their portfolio. And they push down to 20 to 50 founders in each one, and opportunities will come for us. So we've got value exchange for them, where we're providing like a partnerships masterclass or session to be able to help educate their portfolio to do better. And in return, we'll get their speaking opportunities, which unlocks business opportunities for us. So we're able to drive distribution. And then so what we've been trying to do is exactly the ecosystem approach. And we define that as working with those who have access to or are talking to your ideal customers. So for us, that's relevant tech conferences. It's speaking at those like South by Southwest Sydney or others. We've done some work with the Australian Tech Council when they've got 170 companies down within there. We do work with the New Zealand government where we're presented to over 100 companies within there and opportunities come out the back. And so what we've done, Nish, is very intentionally built our own flywheel around how people find out about us, engage with us from those who influence. Venture capitalists, if they've invested money into a business and they're like, oh, we want to grow partnerships, and they say, oh, well, you should chat to Bryan and Hockey Stick, then they do it and they take it seriously and they have to report back on it. So, yeah, I'm a big believer of, we're living the values and best practice, which we see how we operate with others. And that's how we're still going pretty hard 3 years later.
So obviously very smart as well. I'm getting with all of the startup and scale ups, because the impact that you can have, and this is what they're pronounced, and probably about easy basic as well.
Yeah, that's right. And if we're setting up partnership capabilities with companies, then they partner with people. And then, Nick, we've found opportunities from the companies, partners, right?
Yeah.
So the flywheel does spin a bit faster there, yeah.
That's why we love the profession side. You don't have to stop in taking it to your personal life. Easy.
Yep.
Personal life was a mistake.
And just on a personal side as well, Bryan, do you think you've landed in this position
by accident, or do you think you always see destined for a role like this?
Well, I think it's sort of light bulbs go off a long time ago. I think people in partnerships, no one's born in partnerships, right? You come from a sales, marketing, or customer success, and I bet anyone listening to this or watching has probably got the same background. But for me, Nick, like I had an outbound sales role in the Middle East and in Europe, after university, and from going from an outbound role to then starting to build some referral strategies and running events and getting things going, I had the aha light bulb moment. And so throughout my career, I've always realized that there's a better and sharper way to go about it. Where we come in is helping solve the how do you do it? How do you activate partners? Where do we spend time, energy, and effort? Which, as you guys know, so many companies just go really broad and just be really reactive and ad hoc around how do they approach it. Whereas, we've developed a partnerships framework which we deploy and stand up the function alongside sales, product led, effectively.
He's based in the Middle East and UK. Was it quite the situation to the sale at both babies and the call center environments?
Yeah.
How many months as the seizure, and having that context coming back to Australia, we think that partnerships is form better these regions.
Yeah, great question, Nick. I go over to the US every year and be able to bring Silicon Valley ideas back to APAC and build my network out there. And I think the US market in particular is ahead of APAC around how do we operate as a operating function across as part of go to market. So I think there's a lot of lessons there of companies ahead of us, but I mean, the US market is 30 times plus bigger than ours, so they're more mature in how they operate with it. But commonly, even a lot of North America partnership teams are still very lean, still very resource dependent, with a lot of education needed back up into leadership teams around what's required for success to support whatever number or revenue targets have been given. So the challenges remain the same. I think it's just a more mature based on the nature of the market over there. Yeah, I think so. I think it's probably depends on vertical and the nature of the company. I caught up with Nelson Wang last week, who they won Partner Program of the Year with Airtable. And, some of the sort of takeaways from that call was just be customer, it's obsess, lead with that. Make sure you build up business case internally around what's required for the offering model. And he's done it so many times now, you've got credibility for that I think if anything, to get over the line commercially, you need to be commercially driven and be thinking commercially. So what impact are you having? And what are the leading and the lagging indicators that partnerships can contribute to, or a little bit broader. And if you're a partner manager, I encourage you to really understand what that looks like for companies, because leading indicators, you're doing webinars together or expanding the reach, shared EDMs or shared marketing activities, you're helping the top of the funnel. If partners can contribute and provide influence, insights or intros, you're driving the bottom of the funnel. If they're closing deals, if you've been around in partnerships and you had the motion going long enough, Nick, I could guarantee that referrals that you drive into the business would be probably a few things. They'd highly likely be close faster, they'd be bigger deals and stay longer than those who weren't via referrals. And if you run that out by lifetime value of those via referrals and against those without referrals, the lifetime value would be huge metrics to share back to the business, and you need to get aggressive on those metrics. And on the bottom line, those came from meeting before where we're talking about churn, because equally deals which are led from partners, as they're a better fit, they don't churn as much. So if you're able to get into the weeds of looking at customers with and through partners churn versus those who haven't come from partners, then there's also unit economics on the bottom side and lifetime value to go with it. So if you get a base metric on either the top line or the bottom line and be able to communicate that back to the business and regularly, then you can put yourself in a position to get the support you need because it stacks up commercially, right?
So it's been in play now for a few years. I think we're very lucky in the way how we built that, and we can leverage, I guess, our point system to reward our partners and clients. I think it's always a lot easier to get people excited about a product if you say, here's 10,000 Qantas points, you sign up and do this, transact this amount. But yeah, it did take a lot of work reiterating, and I think a lot of it came from understanding, I guess, having those chats with partners and understanding if it's working and having those quarterly catch-ups, because it's one thing to think what about, what potentially people might like as an incentive or value. It's very important to have that feedback loop to actually make sure you're doing the right thing by not only your clients, but also, to Bryan's point, like the trends stack up. Customer lifetime value through our channels are much higher, and the churn rate is a lot lower as well than other potential digital marketing channels, such as say, because I think it just comes down to us being able to actually identify what our ideal customer profile looks like, and then also to Bryan's point, understanding what our ideal partner profile looks like. So if we get those two kind of aligned and right, I think it's very easy to kind of
to lead us to success.
But finally, could be around is slowly making our way to the crux of the conversation, which has to be the role of AI in partnerships going forward. Talk us through where you think things are heading on that front.
Yeah, big question, Nick. So I think there's a few phases of I'm seeing right now. I think all of us can use it day to day in just to work smarter, sharper, and all that stuff. That's fantastic. Part of our partnership framework, we provide AI enablement. So as we're working through our pillars, we'll provide prompt engineering and tools and recommendations to coming through. I think the next stage is as we all increasingly, we're all going to have AI agents either working with us, alongside us or against us, right? So there's an opportunity for us to all go faster. But however, the partnerships at the foundation is still going to sit between people like yourselves to be able to sort of broker these deals and AI do the work, the low-hanging fruit work to go with it. So, I think that network increasingly matters for everyone. Those relationships matter. That black book, which people used to hire people for, is going to have increased value for it. And, everyone has to lean into it right now and stay on the right side of the curve of all be left behind. And so I encourage everyone to, play around, but think of various use cases, think about what problems your partners need solved, how you can help them, and then try and consider AI as something in your back pocket which can help you go faster.
So tasks các cái AI sẽ chơi idea because
Ask you for referrals.
Yeah, why not? Yeah.
Admin automation. Yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah, but there's so many user cases. If you write down everything you did day to day, week to week, and then you thought about how can AI solve that, and then you create a repeatable task for it, and then AI agents ahead to be able to do that on your behalf, then everyone's going to be able to move faster. Yeah, absolutely. And I encourage everyone to sort of, share best tips and tricks with their partners and try and ideate around how you can work together so you can achieve better business outcomes together. Right?
Thanks again, Brian. And if anyone's looking to build out a partner program or want some help in scaling their partnerships, definitely advice to reach out to Brian at Hockey Stick, and we'll hopefully have a little show notes section where we can add details in there as well.
Thanks, Nish. Thanks, Nick. Good chat.